Hello there and welcome to another game of Hail Caesar. Vikings versus Saxons today. This is game 2 of a little mini campaign that I'm running based around the Great Heathen Army invasion, where the Vikings invaded England around 865, the year 865. So we're a couple of years in. And if you watch the first game, basically the Vikings had raided down into Mercia and managed to successfully raid a local village for the Saxons. And the Vikings were victorious. So the two protagonists, you've got Earl Redmond of Mercia, who's the general for the Saxons, and you've got the Warlord is Magnus Sigvason for the Vikings. So in this second game, the Vikings have captured one of Earl Redmond's family, one of his cousins, and they're holding them captured here in this little village, which the Vikings have taken over. So Earl Redmond has dispatched one of his thanes to basically come in and try and attack the Vikings defending the camp. But in the meantime, he sent a little sneaky force round to the side here. We're going to try and, whilst these are distracted fighting, try and get into the village and capture and rescue the hostages. So it's kind of a dual game really. There's one kind of battle in the middle, which is the Saxons trying to distract the Vikings, whilst the little raiding force trying to sneak into the village and capture the hostages. Okay, so nice little game. So I'll quickly run over the forces and some of the scenario rules. So we'll start with the Saxon Army first. So I am using the army lists and rules from the unit rules from Shieldwall, which is the supplement for Hail Caesar that Warlord produced. So over here we've got the leader for today. So I do roll for this randomly. There should be a little chart on the screen now. So in the last game we had Tidwulf Massingham was commanding the Saxons, and for this game we've got Hunston Bulkwill. So Hunston's down here with the flag there. So he's commanding a small division. He's got a unit of Thanes, kind of heavy infantry, and he's got a unit of Curls with a medium infantry at the back, and then a small unit of cavalry here. So Hunston's got +2 attacks. He's also brave. So basically he gives to his unit here, and they can rally without an order when they're shaken. So that's Hunston Bulkwill. He's the commander for today. And his second division, small one here, just got 2 units of Curls and a unit of Slingers. And then for the raiding force, for the rescue force down here, just a small, a standard unit of skirmishers. That's kind of light infantry with spears and javelins. So they can go in open order, which means they don't get any issues for going through this little forest here, up to the campsite there. So that's the Saxon forces. So we'll head over and look at the Vikings. So here's the Viking force. We're holding this village here. So today commanded by Harald Knudsen, who's down here with the flag there. Previous game was Rolf Ingvarsson, who was successful for the Vikings. Again, he's got 2 small divisions. So we've got a unit of herdmen down there, the heavy infantry, and a unit of Bondi with the medium infantry, and also a small unit of Bondi archers supporting them there. And for his second division, pretty much the same. So we've got a unit of herdmen at the front there, a unit of Bondi at the back, and then a small unit of Bondi archers there, and holding or patrolling the village here where the hostages are. Again, just a small skirmishing unit of Viking skirmishers with, again, spears and javelins. So that is the 2 forces today. So I'll just quickly run over the scenario rules, then we'll crack on. Right, so just a quick run through the scenario rules for you. So in terms of terrain, this river is impassable. Apart from 2 points here, we've got a ford, which is rough ground, so the units can cross using the rough ground rules. And this bridge, it's free movement across there. So apart from that, everything else is kind of just scattered terrain, really doesn't really affect the game in terms of terrain. So we've got the main objective again is for the Saxons to rescue the hostages from the village. So we've got this unit down here. This is basically a specific rescue party trying to sneak up. So at the start of every Viking turn, they can roll a d6. On a 6, they're discovered. And all that means is if they are discovered is that the unit that's in the village can then man the barricades here, which basically gives them more opportunity to defend the village. Otherwise, the Saxons can sneak up and attack unawares. But also, if they are discovered, then the Viking commander can detach 1 unit from his army to come and support the village as well. The Saxons, if they can break through, so if the Saxons can be victorious in this part of the battlefield and break through the Viking lines, they can also send a unit into the village as well. So we could end up with a bit of a pile up in there potentially. For the Saxons to claim victory, they need to clear the village of any defenders and rescue the hostages and then take them off the board. So that's the main objectives really. In terms of other victory points, you've got 5 points for win the scenario. So basically that's very simple. So if the Saxons get the rescue the hostage, that's 5 points. If the Vikings prevent them, then that's 5 points. You can capture the enemy religious icons. So both generals have got an icon. So both Huntston Bulkwill and Harold Knutson both carry a religious icon. So to capture the icon, you've basically got to break the unit they're in, and then either kill or capture the general. And then you can get the religious icon. That's worth 5 victory points, quite heavy. But also, if you kill or capture the enemy general, that's 3 victory points. And if you wound the enemy general, that's 1 point. For every enemy division broken, you get 3 points. Any unit destroyed, 2 points. And shaken units at the end of the game is 1 point. So that's all the victory points. That should be on the screen as well. In terms of the actual, I used the one last thing to confirm. I used the fighting general rules. So as you can see, the generals are actually part of a unit. So rather than being a separate divisional commander or general of army general commander and have a separate stand, I have my generals as part of the units, which basically represents the fact that in the Dark Ages you had kind of fighting leaders who would lead from the front, and all the various issues that can bring in terms of being casualties themselves. There are some rules around this in both the supplement and the main rule books about how you could potentially do that. The one thing that's probably a little bit vague is about orders, because obviously if you're in the middle of a unit and you're trying to give out orders across the board, you get minus modifiers for distance. What I tend to do is use the Marauder special rule just to make sure that basically they effectively get the orders without any penalties, and I think that's probably the fairest way of doing it. Probably represents the fact that it's there's probably only very limited objectives for these guys, attack the enemy type stuff. So I use that. I run it that way. So okay, so that's the end of the scenario rules and the victory conditions. So we'll head over to turn 1. Okay, so see who goes first. So green dice are for the Saxons and the yellow dice are for the Vikings. So Saxons go first. Okay, so that's the end of the Saxon commander movement on turn 1. So Huntston Bulkwill did pretty well. So managed to get a couple of moves off here, so onto the bridge for getting the cavalry in front of his rest of his units. We did basically a division order for that. So they're starting to cross that bridge. And on this side, pretty successful again, got 3 moves off. So as these slingers were in open order, they can get right across the ford and got into this ground here. But as this is rough ground, so as that unit moved on there, it had to stop. It couldn't get across the river, and then the unit behind had to stop behind there as well. So that rough ground just inhibiting the movements a little bit for the Saxons, and then the rescue party here just got 1 move through the woods there. That's the end of turn 1. There's no shooting. Those slingers are out of range at the moment, so we're going to head over to turn 1 for the Vikings. Okay, so before we get into the command phase for the Vikings, we're going to just see if the rescue party is discovered. So if you remember from the start of the game, I roll a d6, and if it's a 6, then they are discovered. So let's see what happens. 2, so that's okay. So they remain undiscovered for the time being. So we'll head over to Vikings turn 1 command. So that's the end of commander movement on turn 1 for the Vikings. So so Harold Knutson managed to get a couple of moves off here, just trying to obviously get towards the bridge. And this division only just got 1 move and just moved around, just wheeled slightly around this direction here to try and face off against the Saxons coming that way. Unfortunately, none of the bows are in range, so that is the end of the Vikings' turn. So we head over to turn 2 for the Saxons. Okay, so not a bad turn for the Saxons on turn 2 commander movement. On this side here, the slingers managed to get up a move, and they're now in slinger range of that front unit there. This unit managed to come out of the rough ground, and this unit moved into the ford as well. So getting a little bit detached from each other, but they are moving. And on this side, Huntston Bulkwill got a good move off, so managed to get the cavalry across to here. Although they did have enough actually movement to actually charge, but because it wasn't part of their order, a bit of a faux pas from Huntston, they've just kind of got themselves facing towards those archers there. and then managed to get the rest of his units across the bridge. So the good news is they managed to clear the bridge and are in good position to face the Vikings that are coming forward now. And then finally, the rescue party only got one move again, so need to be getting a move on because obviously they've got to get in and get out within 6 turns. So, but they are close to getting there now. So, in fact, they're within one move of attacking the village now. So, okay, so we've got a little bit of shooting down here from the slingers. So we'll just come back and do that. Okay, so these slingers have got 2 shots. They are within 12, so there's no modifier for that. But they are firing at formed shielded infantry, heavy infantry. So it's going to be -1. So that becomes a 5 to hit. Oh, great start for the Saxons. That's 2 hits, and also they will have to take a break test, a shooting break test. But they've got 2 saves of 4. So let's see if they can save these. No, so that is 2 casualties. So yeah, so they've been whacked by some stones by the Saxons in this first round. Okay, so we'll just come back and do that missile break test. Right, let's see what the Vikings roll. So 2 dice. That is an 8. I think that's fine. Yes, so just hold your ground without penalty. So despite taking a couple of casualties, these are big, tough Norsemen, so yeah, not too bothered right now. Okay, so that's the end of turn 2 for the Saxons, so over to turn 2 for the Vikings. Right, so start turn 2, let's see if the Vikings can discover the rescue party. So again, need a 6. Oh, no, it's a 5, so still remain undiscovered for the time being. Okay, so over to the commander movement. Okay, so it's all kicking off on turn 2 for the Vikings. So just on this side first, so this division here just shuffled up 1 move towards the slingers, but also ordered this archer unit just to swivel round, just to try and support their colleagues over there, in terms of shots onto that cavalry unit, which is probably a bit dangerous for that flank. But the big news in the middle, being a Viking, Knutson decided just to go for it, so managed to get his rolls and have charged in. So there's a big clash now between the 2 commanders and their forces. So we've got a bit of shooting to do, and then some hand-to-hand combat. So we'll come back for that. Okay, so we'll do these archers first. So these are going to be hitting on 4s, and because they're medium cavalry, there's no modifiers to that. So let's see what those do first. That is 2 hits, and also they will be testing for missile attacks. So that's 2 hits, and then for these guys, hitting on 5s because they are extreme range. They're not obscured either, so they can see them. So it's just going to be 2 5-ups. Nothing. So, okay, at least that's 2. So that's 2 saves of 5+. They've got a morale value of 5+. Let's do that first. No, so that's 2 casualties onto them as well. They've only got 4 because they're a small unit, so they're down to 2. And we're doing the break test, so I'll just come back for that. Okay, so again, we've got 2 dice. And that's a 4. Oh, that's bad news. Cavalry, break if shaken, otherwise retreat disordered. Ah, okay, so they're not shaken, so they're not going to break, but they will be retreating disordered. So I'll just make those moves and just come back. All right, so that's the end of that move, the retreat move from the cavalry. Now, because you have to make 1 move away, they couldn't quite make a full move, so they're basically stopped by the river. They couldn't move through that combat there. So basically they are just end their move there, but they are disordered as well, and you can see the 2 casualties. Okay, so that's the end of a pretty successful shooting round for the Vikings there. In fact, shooting's been pretty good in this game so far. So we'll go over to this melee in the middle. Right, so here we go for the first hand-to-hand of the game. So the Vikings have charged in, so they'll be getting +1 to their rolls, so they're getting hit on 3s. And they've got supporting attacks as well, and then the Saxons will be hitting on 4s. So both commanders are involved in the attack, which is good to get us going. So Harold Knutson has got 1 attack, and Hunston Bolker has got 2. So, but also Knutson's got wild fighters, so basically that unit of herdmen at the front there, they get to re-roll miscombat attacks in the first round of hand-to-hand. So let's go for it. So herdmen have got 7 attacks, +1 for Harold Knutson, so that's 8 attacks, hitting on 3s, re-rolling. So we've got 3 misses there, so we get to re-roll those. So just add 1 more. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits so far. Then we've got the supporting attacks. So these are 3 from the Bondi, and they get 3 supporting attacks hitting on 4s. No re-rolls on this. Wow, good. Okay, so all hits. Okay, so that is 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the Saxons get 7 attacks back for the Thanes, plus Hunster's 2 attacks, that's 9 attacks, hitting on 4s. Oh, that's not very good. No re-rolls, that's 3 so far. And also he also has 3 supporting attacks from the curls at the back there, hitting on 4s. Just 2. Okay, so that's 5 versus 9. So I'll just come back and do these saves. Right, so we'll do the Viking saves first. So they save on 4s. So that is 3 casualties onto the Vikings, and then we'll do the Saxon saves again, all on 4s. Oops, the dice. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 casualties. Okay, so the Saxons lost by 2. So we'll come back and do their break test. Okay, so 2 dice and -2 for the Saxons. So 11 becomes 9, so that means hold your ground without penalty. So despite those casualties, the lines are holding. Okay, so that is the end of turn 2 for the Vikings. So we're going to move swiftly over to turn 3 for the Saxons. Well, before we move on, I always forget this, because the commanders have been in action, they could have been hit as part of that. So the way this works is you roll 2 dice, and if you get a score of 12, then they could potentially be wounded or slain, and you add on to your roll the number of attacks after 1. So for Harold Knutson, he only made 1 attack, so it's just going to be 2 dice needing 12. And for Hunston Bulkwill, because he made 2 attacks, it will be +1. So basically, if I roll 11 or more, then he could be injured as well. So let's do Knutson first. So just a straight roll. It's not in the tray, but there you go. So it was a 6, so he's fine. And then for Hunston himself, let's see what happens here. No, so he's fine as well. So no injuries to the 2 commanders at this early stage. So over to turn 3. Okay, so it's the end of the movement and command phase for the Saxons. So obviously on this flank, not a lot going on. So they're disordered here. So they'll recover that at the end of this turn. These are locked in combat. As you can see, I've applied the casualties now. So 5 for that unit there and 3 there. And then over here, this unit of curls just managed to come out of the forward area and just link up with their comrades there, just to form a bit more of a attacking block. And then the slingers made a little move over here just to come out of the way. Still in range for their slingshots. And then the light infantry down here, still in open order, managed to charge in on initiative. Now, because these didn't spot them, they caught them unaware, so although they've obviously moved into hand-to-hand now, they won't be getting any defensive bonuses for the fences there. They've kind of you imagine they've caught them off guard, sleeping. They're climbing over the fences and hacking away as they get in there. Okay, so we've got a bit of shooting down here for the slingers, so we'll come back into that first. Right, so once again the slingers are firing at this unit here. Again, they're formed infantry with shields, so it's going to be 2 dice hitting on 5s. Now, last time they did very well, took 2 casualties. Let's see how they got on this time round. Nothing. Okay, so clearly all this moving around is not helping them out. Right then, so we're going to back to the combat over here first. Okay, so the Vikings won that last round. So they get +1 again to their hits, attacks. So that's going to be hitting on 3s again. And the Saxons will be on 4s. Now, because it's now the second round of combat, they've lost their Wild Fighters rule, so there'll be no re-rolls though. So we'll do as it's a Saxon's turn, we'll do them first. So we've got the 7 attacks +2 for Hunston Bulkwill, so that's 9 attacks hitting on 4s. So that's not too bad. 1, 2, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits there. And then we've got 3 supporting attacks as well, hitting on 4s. Another 2. That's a lot better from the Saxons. So that is going to be 8 for the Saxons. And then we've got the 7 +1 for the Vikings, hitting on 3s. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well. And then we've got the 3 supporting attacks hitting on 4s. No. Okay, interesting. So the Saxons have slight advantage there, so we'll come back and do the morale saves. So Saxons saving on 4s. So that is 3 casualties. And then the Vikings saving on 4s as well. That's 1, 2, 3 casualties there as well. So 3 each. So that is a draw. So let's apply those results and come back. Okay, so we've applied those casualties. So as you can see, both of these lead units now shaken. They've taken 6 stamina. This had 2 excess casualties, so that's spilled over onto the curls here. So because it's a drawn combat, but they're both shaken, these will both be testing. So we'll do the Saxons first. It's their turn, so it's going to be 2 dice. That is a 10, so I think that's fine. So 10, yeah, so they're going to be holding the ground. Let's see what happens to the Vikings. And they're going to hold the ground as well. So this is a bloody melee in the middle. So, but clearly no one wants to give ground right now. So, but they're going to remain shaken and go into the next turn in combat as well. So we'll come over to do the fight for the village. Oh, hold my horses. I forgot once again, because the commander's been fighting, they've got to roll to see if they're hits as well. So 2 dice for Hunsdon Bullquill, so +1 to this roll. So 7 becomes an 8, so he's fine. And then for Harold Knutson, no, he's fine as well. Okay, so over to the village. Right, so the Saxon light infantry here get 5 attack dice on for the clash value, and the thrall skirmishers for the Vikings get 3. As I say, they've caught them by surprise, so there's no bonuses, but the Saxons do get +1 for charging, but because they're both in open order, it's -1 as well, so they're going to be hitting on 4s, they're going to be hitting on 5s. So 4s for the Saxons. Only 2 hits for the Saxons. And then 3 for the Vikings, hitting on 5s. They get 2 as well. Interesting. Okay, so the Saxons have got a 6-up save. They're quite lightly armoured. They do make 1 though, so that is 1 casualty on the Saxons. And the thrall skirmishers get no saves because they've got no armour. So basically, that's 2 for 1. So, so the Vikings lost by 1 there. So I'll come back and do their break test. Okay, 2 dice -1. 7 becomes a 6. So that is give ground in good order together with support. So they're going to be giving ground, which basically means they're going to be moving back into the compound, and the light infantry will be able to follow up and move in. So I'll do that now. So there you go. So the Saxons have broken into the village and pushed the Vikings back. So they've almost done what they need to do. They need to push these out of the village to be able to rescue the hostages. So the Saxons are doing okay. There's a bit of hold the ground over here, hold the Viking Warlord in place. Yet to clash over this side yet, still a bit tentative. But critically, they've got into that village and got another 3 turns to sort themselves out. Okay, so let's have a look at turn 3 for the Vikings. Right, so that's the end of turn 3 commander movement for the Vikings. So on this flank here, this block of Herdman and Bondi, I've just shuffled up 1 move towards the Saxon lines here. Centre's obviously holding for this ongoing melee. The archers held their ground as well. But the big news was that the villagers managed to get a messenger out to Knutson to say they're under attack. And he's managed to get an order off to this unit that was here, these archers, who got 3 moves. So managed to charge in to support the skirmisher colleagues here in the village, the thrall skirmishers. So Saxons have been rumbled and got some support now in from the Vikings. So that's just made their life a lot more difficult. So, but let's come back and let's get this shooting. So there's some archers shooting over here against these Saxon cavalry. Okay, so these archers are going to get their 2 shots across here. Now, I didn't measure, so they're just out of 12. So they are actually -1 to hit these now, so which is a bit of a shame. So we'll be hitting on 5s, so 2 shots. No, well, they'd have missed anyway. Okay, so we'll come back for this combat over here. Okay, so both the units at the front are shaken. So they're going to be +1 to hit, so they're going to be hitting on 5s this time. The supports are still on 4s. So we'll start with the Vikings again. So again, we've got the 7 attacks for the Herban, +1 for Knutson, so 8 attacks hitting on 5s. Again, no re-rolls. Just the 1 hit, that's made a big difference to the rolls now, although that wasn't a great roll anyway. The 3 supports on 4s, that's better, so that's 4 hits in total. Then we've got the Saxons, oh that's not bad, that's cocked. Yes, okay, that's better, that's actually really good. So that's 5 hits for the Saxons, this could be interesting, plus the supports coming on 4s. Yeah, another 2, wow, okay, so we'll come back for the morale saves. So it's 7 morale saves, a 4 + for the Vikings. So they've made 3, so that's 4 casualties onto the Vikings. And then it's 4 for the Saxons, again on 4s. Wow, just the 1. So they won that by 3. Right, so we'll come back for the break tests. It's 2 dice minus 3. So that's a 9 becomes a 6. So that is give ground in good order together with supports. Okay, so we'll come back and just do that. Okay, so as you can see, they've given ground moving back, but we must also do the, I forgot to do the commanders again, so let's do that now. So we'll do Knutson first. Oh, he's fine. Yeah, no, because, yeah, he's fine. So it's +1 for Bulkwheel, so he's fine. Let's do this one. 10 becomes 11. Wow, those are high rolls, but they're still okay. No wounds or slain on those commanders there. Okay. Right, okay, so we'll move over to this combat here. Right, so there's a few bits to this fight to go through. So we've got the Bondi here that charged in. They get a clash value of 3 attack dice, hitting on 3s because they charged. Then the other Viking skirmishers there, they get 2 now, sustained, because they had 3 for their clash, but 2 for sustained attacks. And because they're still in open order, they're going to hit on 5s. So we'll do these ones first on 3s. Just 1 hit, that's not good. I'll be a bit tired from running across. And then we've got 2 on 5s, which they both hit. So that is 3 hits there. And then the Saxons get 5 attacks back. Now they have to basically allocate 3 to their front and 2 to the side. So they won the last combat. So they are open order. So they were hitting on 5s, but it becomes 4s. But because they're attacked to a flank, it's back to 5s. So we've got 3 dice to the front on 5s. That's 1. And then 2 to this flank here on 5s. No, so just the 1 hit on those skirmishers. So we'll do the saves next. Right, so there was no wounds onto these guys. Onto the skirmishers there for the Vikings, there was 1 casualty because they've got no armour. And these got a 6, and the Saxons have got a 6-up save. So got 3 dice for 6-up saves. They don't make any, so that's 3 casualties. So let me allocate those casualties and I'll come back. Right, so I've added those casualties. So then up to 4 casualties onto that unit there. They've got a stamina of 6. They're up to 3, so they've got stamina of 4. These are fine. So the Vikings won that 3-1. So that's a difference of 2. So 2 dice for the break test for the Saxons. So 7 becomes a 5, which is give ground disordered together with supports. Oh dear. So that's going to push them out of the village, and they're going to be disordered. So I'll do that and come back. Okay, so that's the end of all that mayhem there. So as you can see, these Saxon light infantry have been pushed out of the village. The thrall skirmishers and the Bondi archers followed up. These are now disordered as well, which is why the bases are all different directions. So that's not going well for the Saxons for that rescue attempt. So we'll have to see how the rest of the battle goes. So over to turn 4 for the Saxons. Right, so this end of turn 4 commander movement for the Saxons. So clearly the Saxons under Bulkwheel need to get a shift on there. We're halfway through the game. So what happened here? So obviously over here, these are still stuck in melee. The cavalry here failed to get a charge off into those archers there. So just got the 1 move up to there. So really not having much impact on the game at all at the moment. And then over this side, bit more joy. So these 2 units of curls here charged into the Vikings there, who've already got those couple of casualties from the slingers. So now we've got 2 big blocks of melee going on, and obviously this is still stuck in combat down here. So there's no shooting in this turn for the Saxons because the slingers have got no targets. So we'll go straight over to hand. Okay, so we'll start with this fresh combat down here. So Saxon curls have got a clash value of 6 and the herdmen 7. So we'll do, and also we've got the supports here from the curls, which is 3, and supports from the Bondi, which is 3 as well. So, so 6 attacks from the lead unit there for the Saxons, hitting on 3s. So that is 4 hits for them. And then we've got the 3 supporting attacks hitting on 4s for the 1. So that is 5 hits from the Saxons, and then we've got the 7 attacks back from the herdmen on 4s. So that is 4 hits there, and then we've got the 3 supports on 4s as well. Wow, that's good fighting from the Vikings. So let's do the morale saves. Okay, so Curls have got a 5 up in morale saves. Let's see what they do. 7 saves required. Not bad. So that's 4 casualties for the Saxons, and the Herdmen have got 4 up because they are the heavy infantry. 3 casualties, not great. So they won by 1. So we'll come back and do the break test. Right, 2 dice minus 1. So if 6 becomes a 5. That is give ground disorder together with support. Okay, so they'll be giving ground back this way. So we'll come back and do that. Okay, so that's the result of that combat there. So as you can see, the Saxons have been pushed back towards the river, and that front unit becomes disordered. So supports don't become disordered in that moment. But both of those units are nearly shaken as well. So yeah, it's getting tough for the Saxons here. So we'll move over to this central combat and see how that goes on. Right, back to this big central melee then. So just a couple of things as well. Just Huntston Bolcran has got the Brave special rule, which means they can rally from being shaken without an order. However, because they're in combat, can't really do that. You're not normally allowed to give orders out while you're in battle. So they're going to stay shaken. So they won the last round. So +1 for being shaken, -1, so back to 4s. And these are on 5s. So we'll do the Saxons first. So 9 dice, including Bolquill's 2 attacks, hitting on 4s. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a good start. Plus the 3 supports. Attacks on 4s. Another 2. So that's not bad. That's 8 hits there. Then we've got the Vikings attacks. 7 attacks +1. So 8 attacks back on 5s. That's just 2. And then we've got the 3 supporting attacks on 4. 4. So let's do the saves. Okay, so these Saxons are saving on 4s. 4 saves, 4+. That's 2 casualties onto them, and then we've got 8 saves for the Vikings. This could be interesting. On 4s, and that is 4 casualties. Okay, so they've won by 2. So the Saxons have. So we'll come back for the rate test. Actually, before I do that, I will do the commander's test. So I've just read the rules again, and actually you're supposed to do the commander rolls in terms of whether they're slain or wounded before you do the break test, because it could add 1 to the result. So let's do that again. So we've got Huntston Bolquill, so 2 dice, add 1, so he's fine. And then we've got Harold Knutson, he's fine. Okay, so yeah, so we can do the break test. So it's -2 for the Vikings. So let's do that now. I think that's done. I think that front unit's broken. Yeah, so they are broken. So, so that unit breaks, which means I've now got a test for these guys here. So let me do that one as well. 7 -2, 5. So they're going to give ground disorder. So actually, so they're going to give ground. They're going to break. They've gone, and that includes the commander. So unfortunately, Harold Knutson could be dead. I need to roll for that separately. But his unit is broken, and these are going to give ground. So let me tidy that up, and I'll come back. Right, so there we are. So that unit has moved back. It's now disordered. And Harold Knutson's there. So I need to roll a dice. On a 1 to 2, he's slain. On a 3 to 4, he's wounded. Or 5 to 6, unharmed. So let's see what we do with that first. So don't really want to roll a 1 or a 2, do I? And a 4. Okay, so he is wounded. So now he has to try and make 1 move to join a unit, which he can do. He can go and join that unit there. But now he can't make any of his attacks. But he's still holding on to his relic. So remember, if you remember, he had a relic, and also Huntston Bilswick had a relic as well. So he's not been captured or killed, so he can hold on to that. So let me just tidy that up, and this unit will also make a move to re-engage as well. Okay, so that's the final positions for where they've ended up. Because he's shaken here, they can't actually make a sweeping advance move to try and re-engage into that combat there. But they can still make 1 move forward, which they've done, but they couldn't make a second move into, which is basically called a sweeping advance. So that's where that's ended up. So a lot of casualties, a lot of dead bodies are treading over there, but at least the Viking commander Knutson is still alive, albeit he's wounded. So yeah, so we've got this final combat over here to do, so let's do that and then we can end the turn. Right, so let's work this one through. So these guys here The Bondi are hitting on 3s. They've got 3 attacks because they've won the last combat. These are going to be hitting on 4s because although they're skirmishers in open order, they got +1 for the win the combat. It's back to 4s. Fortunately for the Saxons, they are in open order and they're disordered and they're being charged to the flank. So, or sorry, they're fighting to a flank, so it's going to be 6s all round. So again, 3 attacks to the front, 2 to the side. So we'll do that first on 6s. Nothing. And then 2 for the flank attack. Nothing. Okay, not good news. And then 3 attacks here on 3s. Oh, just 1. It's not a great start. And then 2 there on 4s. Better. So 3 hits from the Vikings. So let's do the saves. They're on saves of 6+. Just 1, so 2 casualties. So the Vikings won by 2. So we'll come back and do the break test. Okay, so 2 dice -2. Oh, they're fine. So they're just going to basically stay where they are. But because they're disordered, they're also shaken now. They will stay like that for the next round. Okay, so that's the end of turn 4 for the Saxons. So let's move over to turn 4 for the Vikings. Very brief command phase for the Vikings. Not much to do because these are all in combat here. These are disordered, so I couldn't do anything. So the only thing that happened here was these are still in combat here. So these archers just basically managed to move back, just keeping themselves within shooting range of 18 inches, but just hoping to avoid a charge if they can. Okay, so we have got a bit of shooting, so we'll come back for that. Right, so these are at extreme range, so they're going to be hitting on 5s. So we've got 2 shots. That is 1 hit, and then it's a 5-up save, which they don't make. So that is 1 more casualty on them. They're almost shaken. So we'll come back for the melee. Right, we'll start with this one here. So we're going to try and speed things up a little bit now. So these are the Vikings, 7 attacks on 3s because they won the last combat. So that is 3 hits there, plus the 3 supports and 4s, another 1 there. So that's 4 hits for the Vikings. Then we've got 6 attacks back for the Bondi, who are disordered, so they're hitting on 5s. So that is just the 2, and then we've got the 3 support on 4s. Nothing. Okay, so that is, I'll come back for the saves. So Vikings saving on 4s. 1 casualty for the Vikings, and the Bondi saving on 5s. 2 casualties, so Vikings won by 1, so I'll come back for the break test. Okay, 2 dice -1. So they're fine on 9, so they're just going to hold the ground without penalty. So just apply those casualties and then we'll just go over to the next melee. Okay, so once again we've got 3 attacks here hitting on 3s. That's 2 hits. And then 2 attacks hitting on 4s. That's 4 hits. And then 3 attacks back to the front hitting on 6s. No, and then 2 attacks to the side hitting on 6s. 1. Okay, so that's something. Okay, so we'll come back to the saves. Right, so these Bondi archers have got a 6+ save. So that is 1 casualty onto them. And then these have got 6-up saves as well. Nothing. Yeah, to come back for the break test. So 2 dice -3. So a 10 becomes a 7, so they're going to give ground again in a good order, it says, but obviously they're already disordered, so they'll continue to be disordered. So I'll just do that and tidy up. Right, so that's the end of turn 4. It's a lot going on here. So Vikings doing well here. Vikings doing less well down here, but they have recovered from their disorder now at the end of the turn. But over here, as you can see, the Saxons are well and truly pushed out of the village now. Going to be tough to get those to recover that position and do something there, but yeah, okay, so let's head over to turn 5 for the Saxons. Okay, so that's the end of commander movement phase on turn 5 for the Saxons. It's going to be tight, this game, I think. So over here, the slingers have just managed to move down the table here. Maybe they can do something. There's only this turn and next turn to go. But the Saxons are close to this village now, so although these have moved out, who knows, they could maybe still have an opportunity to get into those hostages if they do something over here. So Hunston Boltquill managed to recover his shaken because he is brave. So he's back down to 5 casualties there. So then he charged into the wounded Harold Knutson. and then these cavalry finally, after 5 turns, managed to do something and managed to get a charge in. Although I haven't done the closing shots yet, so we'll do that live and then we'll see how we get on. So let's swiftly, there's no shooting for the slingers, so let's see how we get on with that closing shots for the Vikings. Right, so the closing shots are -1, so it's going to be 2 shots hitting on 5s. No, they didn't get one. Okay, so let's go over and do some melees. So we might as well stay over this side here. So the Saxon cavalry gets 6 clash dice for their first attack, hitting on 3s, and the Bondi archers get 3 hitting on 4s. So let's do the Saxons first. This is 6 dice hitting on 3s. They need this to count. Not bad. Okay, that is 4 hits for the Saxons, and then 3 back on 4s for the Vikings, and 2 back. Okay. So let's see what happens now. So the Saxons are saving on 5s. Oops. Both fell out of the thing, but 2 casualties there. Okay, and then the Bondi are also saving on 5s. So they get 3 casualties. Okay, so yeah, let's see. That could have been better, I think. So so the Saxons do win by 1. So I'll come back for the break test. Okay, so we're doing the break test. So we're doing 2 dice, and it's -1. So 5 becomes a 4. So they break if shaken, otherwise give ground together with sports or disordered. So they're not shaken. These guys are now, but these aren't shaken. So they're just going to, they're just going to give ground and become disordered. So I'll just do that, then we'll go on to the next melee. So back to this one here. So again, we've got the Saxons that are disordered and shaken. So they've got 6 attacks hitting on 5s. Okay, that's not bad actually. 3 hits plus the 3 supports on 4s. Just another 1. So that is 4 hits for the Saxons, and then we've got the 7 attacks back for the herdmen here who are shaken. So but they also won the combat, so they're going to be hitting on 4s. So that is 5 hits there. And you've got the 3 supports on 4s. Wow, okay, and 8. This is looking good for the Vikings. So we'll come back for the saves. These are the curls here. So we've got 8 saves of 5 required. Now, be careful here because their stamina is 6. If they fail 6 of these, they will be shattered. But let's see how we get on. Oh, they did pretty well actually. So just 4 casualties there. Okay, could have been a lot worse. And then the Vikings also get 4 saves of 4 because they are heavy infantry. 3 casualties. Okay, so just scrape through there. So the Vikings won by 1. So we'll come back for the break test. Okay, so 2 dice -1. 4. Okay, that's going to be break if shaken. Oh dear, they are shaken. Otherwise, good round together with supports all disordered. Okay, so they are going to break. So let me just clear that up. Okay, so they've now broken. So now we need to do a test for the support. So again, it's going to be 2 dice -1. Oh my God, this Saxon line is crumbled. So yeah, that's going to be a break, I think. Break if shaken. Oh no, it just says break if shaken, otherwise give ground for that as well. So yeah, so they're going to give ground back into the riverbed. Okay, so let me do that and I'll come back. Right, so this is combat's going well for the Saxons. So again, we're back to these aren't shaken. So Hunston Bulquill's charged in. So he's got the 7 attacks from the Thanes plus his 2 attacks. 2, 4, 6, 7. So there's 9 attacks for the Saxons hitting on 3s. Okay, so that's pretty good. So that is 2, 4, 6, 7 for the Saxons, and then we've got 3 supporting attacks of 4 plus another, and then the Vikings now they've only got 6 attacks back now because they are Bondi, and also Harold Knutson is injured, he's wounded, so he can't attack, so just 6 attacks back. They are shaken, so they are going to be hitting on 5s. Just 2 back. Okay, so we'll come back and do the saves. Right, so it's 2 saves of 4 plus for the Saxons, being heavy infantry. So just 1 casualty for them. And then we've got 8 saves of 5 for the Bondi. Oh dear, I think that means they're shattered. Yeah, that is 7 casualties. So I'll just double check, but I think that unit is shattered. So just double check that and come back. Yes, so they're shattered, so they're destroyed. That unit's gone as well. So we need to see if anything happens to Harold Knutson again. Can he escape with his life again? So again, a 1-2, he is slain. A 3-4, he's wounded again. And 5-6, he's, well, it says unharmed, but I guess he's going to remain wounded. So again, don't want a 1 or 2. I did see it. So he's wounded again. He's got another wound. So let's just check if he can actually go and join another unit, because if he can't, he is captured. So let me just double check that. Right, so Harold Knutson could make it over to this unit here. So it was 24-inch move, it was 22 inches to there, so we could make a 24-inch move. So that's fine. So he's joined that unit, so he still lives to fight another day. But the good news is for the Saxons is that Huntston Bulker was able to make a sweeping advance move through, which he can do up to 2 moves, and get into the village. So this is a very high chance now, I think, of the Saxons pulling this off. We've got one more combat to do to finish the Saxon turn. So we'll do that and then we'll come back and see where we are. So again, the Saxons are going to be putting 3 attacks into here on 6s. No, and then 2 attacks into the bowman here on 6s. Nothing. And then we've got the 3 attacks back from the Bondi here, hitting on 3s. 3 hits, and then 2 from the skirmishers hitting on 4s. Okay, so that is 4 saves of 6 up for the skirmishers. Oh, they did make 3 actually, so just lose by 1, so we'll do the break test. So that's going to be 2 dice minus 1. Okay, so they're going to again hold, albeit disordered, which is good news because it does mean that these are now stuck really in combat into the next turn as well. So okay, so that's the end of turn 5 for the Saxons. Like I say, it's not going well over here, but that doesn't really matter. I think the crucial thing is they've virtually broken that brigade over, that division over there, and they're into the village with the Thane there, and just holding off on here. So I think they've got a good chance of clinching this, but we'll see how we get on. It's now turn 5 for the Vikings. Right, so that's the end of turn 5 command of movement for the Vikings. Not a lot's happened here. Knutson tried a desperate charge here through this shaken unit here into here, but failed and blundered. And he ended up moving back 1 move. So I think in his wounded state, he's just literally just shouting out some random things to his men, so they're not sure what they're doing. And then this unit failed to rally and get shaken, so it remained shaken. So they couldn't charge either. So yeah, not particularly good on this flank for the Vikings. So basically we've got a couple of melees to do, and then we're over to turn 6. Okay, so we've got this combat down here. So we've got this disordered Bondi unit here. So they're going to be hitting on 5s, 3 dice. Pretty good, that's 2 hits. And then these guys are also shaken, so they'll be also hitting on 5s, and they've got 3 dice. That's their sustain value, so the clash value was 6, but their sustain value was 3. So they need some 5s. This is crucial for, I think, for the Vikings, trying to get some more Saxons. Oh, it's brilliant, it's 3 6s, so that is 3 hits. So we'll come back for the saves. Okay, so 3 saves of 6 up for the Vikings. They do make 1, but that's 2 casualties. And then we've got 2 saves of 5 for the Thane cavalry. No, so that's 2 casualties. So it is a draw. So we'll come back and see how that affects everything. Okay, so we've got the Vikings going first, so 2 dice. And that's 12, so they're quite happy to hold their ground. Although I think it's going to be bad news anyway, because I think that division is now broken. And then we've got the cavalry. They're going to roll. They're rolling a 9. So the cavalry gives ground in good order together with support. So they're actually going to give ground. But I'll just double check, but I think this division is now broken. Yeah, I just double checked, and that was the last unit in that division. So now they're shaken. That unit's broke. That whole division is broken. So they will now be retreating off the table for the next move. As you can see, the cavalry has just retreated and still remains shaken. Okay, so let's go over to that combat there. Right, so back to this combat here. So we've got the 3 attacks here on 3s. That's 3 hits. And the 2 attacks there on 4s. Just the 1, and then we got the 3 attacks on 6s. No, and the 2 attacks on 6s. No. So that is going to be 4 saves of 6. No, so again they're going to be testing, so it's -4 this time. See how this ends up. So it's 11 -4, so that is 7, so I'll just double check. So they are giving ground again, so again they're going to be moving back this way, so let me just sort that out. Right, so that is the end of turn 5, and I think the game. I don't think the Vikings can actually win this now. Basically it's going to be turn 6 next. So Huntsman Boldquill has managed to rescue the hostages, as you can see by that golden token. And basically, because it's his turn next, he'll be able to just move straight off the board. So that would win that. This division was broken here, this Viking division. So those cavalry don't need to do anything because these guys just need to move off in their turn. Over this side, this unit could just start retreating. And because these are shaken, they need to spend their next turn recovering that before they can charge, and that's the last turn anyway. So I don't think the Vikings can score any more points. These units don't actually count down here anyway, so the Thrall skirmishers and the raiding party didn't count towards any of the parts of the divisions. So it doesn't really matter if they die or not. So yeah, so I think the Saxons have won that game, which is good, because I know the Vikings whitewashed them in the first game. So that's a bit of payback for the Saxons. So what I'll do is I'll tot up all the points and put the results of the campaign up next. But also just wanted to say I really enjoyed playing that. It was a good game. I really enjoyed that little scenario. Nice little... I like the fact there was a couple of different types of objectives to do. Loads of melee going on. There's a really nice battle in the centre here. And the battle was ebbing and flowing. But once that broke in the middle, it just meant that the Saxons could capture the village. Because I did think at one point they would do it. But obviously once they got pushed back, I was thinking, no, the Vikings are going to take this game quite easily. But yeah, the Saxons held on and managed just to fight their way through. Obviously Knutson was a bit lucky, getting wounded twice, but also held on to his relic, so that's some precious points he saved for the campaign. And yeah, enjoyed it. So I've got this is game 2 of 6, so game 3 will be coming up very shortly. But like I say, I'll tot up the campaign points now, and we'll just go over to that. Right then, so let's have a look at the campaign points. So as you can see, the Vikings had a spectacular victory in game 1, getting 23 points to the Saxons 2 points. But in game 2, the Saxons have definitely pulled it back, so now at 15-3. So yeah, so the Saxons won the scenario, so that was worth 5 victory points. They also wounded the enemy general, so that was worth a point. They broke a division, that was worth 3. There was a destroyed unit as well and a shaken, so that totaled 15 points at the end. And the Vikings just scored 3 points, which basically was the Saxons had 1 unit destroyed and 1 unit shaken, so that was the 3 points there. So yeah, so the campaign's looking decent now, it's a bit more even, so 26-17. So game 3 is coming up very soon. So once again, thanks all for watching, and catch you all very soon.